This will be the third section for this chapter 21, and we're going to look at juvenile justice, and we're going to try not to be as lengthy for this particular one. There'll be some overlap, so I think we'll be able to do that. So we're going to look at the court system for juveniles, some of the processes or procedures, and then strengthening juvenile justice. So there are some trends that are changing a little bit, and we can talk about that as well. So here we go. So the main idea is that the juvenile justice system was specifically designed for troubled youth younger than 18 years old. This system involves a different process and different penalties from those in the adult criminal justice system. They understand that your frontal lobe is not completely developed yet, and it doesn't until you're about 25. For some people it's a little earlier, for other people it's a little bit later, and that that is the portion of your brain that makes good decisions. So you're you take some risks that you might not otherwise, and so they're looking at it from that perspective. That's why it's different. And so then the terms we're going to look at will be delinquent and status offender. So we're going to move on.
As far as juvenile courts, you can see on the slide, juvenile courts. It says the first juvenile court was established in Illinois in 1899, so it's been over 100 years, about 121 years that we've had the juvenile system. State courts set aside for young adults or young people to help them out, as we talked about, not specifically in the sense to punish them. Here come our two vocab terms that we talked about. The word is a delinquent. A delinquent is a juvenile found guilty of a crime. And that's a little bit different than what a status offender is, the second vocab term. Status offender is a youth who is found guilty of running away or as of truancy or as disobedience. So those are two terms that are found in this chapter here. I don't know if we need to talk anything more about any one of those.
They'll come up.
Okay.
They'll come up.
Right, we'll take it. So, juvenile court procedure is in some ways similar to the adult court procedure. There is arrest and intake, which we covered in the last section. There's initial hearings that occur, and in these cases of initial hearings, this is where you're looking at, are we going to try this juvenile as a juvenile, or are we going to try them as an adult? And that's what happens, in the beginning. Judicatory rolls right off the tongue. Right? It's a special kind of trial that takes place to figure out, what are the juveniles' rights? What role do the parents play in these juveniles' due process? What rights does the juvenile actually have?
One thing that's different is for an adult, it's public.
Yes,
when it's a juvenile, then it's closed off to the public. And so if you pay attention and you read in the newspapers about these things, when a juvenile goes through the court system, it will say, a 15-year-old juvenile or minor or something like that, as opposed to an adult will have their name in the newspaper. So there's that difference too. But
there's that classic Supreme Court decision, New Jersey versus TLO, that's come up a couple times in the text. That TLO, that represents a juvenile who's not named, just the initials are to identify. And that's because juveniles have different rights. All right, there we go. Fourth, dispositional hearing. And this is a case where you could have a simple bench type verdict for a juvenile situation. You could also be, arguing here. I think this is that final chance, right, to determine, is this going through the adult court system or the juvenile court system? All right, and then aftercare. Many juvenile systems or juvenile sentences involve some type of, let's put this juvenile in a position where they don't make the same mistake. All right. you know, a great rule of thumb is, wouldn't it be great if we could put all juvenile justices out of business?
Yeah. I think a big discussion that you might have at home, you know, with your family members or friends in regards to maybe talking to them on the phone. A lot of people feel that our juvenile system is not strong enough in regards to punishment, that it's a mere slap on the fingers or slap on the hands, so to speak, that they don't really necessarily get tough enough with the juveniles that are committing crimes, that you see many of the juveniles committing another crime after that and another crime after that. And it'd be something you can honestly, you could talk to your parents about the juvenile system and hear their thoughts about what they think of the system.
Something that along with that line is that, so I used to work with the courts with kids who got caught drinking, using drugs, that kind of thing. I worked with them for about 25 years, and I no longer do. But if you're a minor and you've been through the court system, your record is sealed when you turn 18. And it doesn't mean that it goes away.
It's not erased. That's the thing that a lot of people think, is it disappears. It doesn't disappear. It's still on record.
And what they will do is, like, for the most part, those things that happened aren't considered in if there's additional cases, unless they're related type of crimes. So then the court will decide, the court has to decide if they're going to use that information. And if they do, then it can go against you often. But there is a difference too, because drinking, you can't legally drink until you're 21, that those records, alcohol records, stay open until you're 21. So if you would get a minor when you're 15, and you would get a minor when you're 18, and you would get a minor when you're 20, all of those would show up in your record, because it's not legal for you to drink until you're 21. Just FYI. Okay.
All right. Now, to strengthening the juvenile justice system, time and time again, community-based programs are the best situation. You know, try and find places where students can be in a environment where they can make the right choices. You know, we all know, you know,
Mentoring systems, for example.
Great example.
To work with a mentor that can try to help you, lead you, give you advice.
Right. Yeah, a diversion program, meaning try to put you on a track for something else. A number of trade organizations and artistic outreach programs are used to divert a student or a juvenile's view of what should or shouldn't be done. All right. Oops, double pumped on that. Large amount of support groups and support circles are developed so that juveniles who are in the system have a place to vent and get frustrations that lead to crimes out of them. They have a place where they can say, look, you know, I don't have food. What am I supposed to do? If I can't have a job because I've got this record, what do I do? Well, people figure out ways to, you know, get fed and get a job and whatnot. And there are a wide variety of those throughout all of the states. All right. Wow. This has been fast.
Right, and we just want to remind you that the juvenile system is set up to try to get people to change their behavior, to make better decisions. It's not designed to keep people from having a normal life as an adult. The idea is, let's get people on the right track. And so that's really what it's all about. And so with that,
I'll just leave one comment that I know I've heard many times over. It's one of those things that you can make a mistake once, you should learn from that mistake. And I know I use that a lot with you as students, that you will maybe make a mistake. I've made mistakes. I know Ms. Rinkenberger, Mr. Howden, we've done some things probably wrong. We've learned, we've corrected those things, and that's, I guess, where I'm coming to you as an adult teacher, is that if you do find yourself in the juvenile system, make the change. Make the change, obviously, and that's what it's set up for, to make that change. And obviously, when you are an adult, to not make that behavior, happen again, where you'll find yourself in an adult system.
All right, let's finish with our traditional graphic organizer of this section. And again, of course, talk to us. Let us know if you have any questions about what's going on. Certainly ask us even those what ifs. I think comes up in this kind of juvenile section a lot. What if this? What if that? So if we were in class, in my class, we would be. I'm sure we would spend a day on discussion for sure on this piece of, because I have found you guys ask some really good questions about this stuff, and so we can't do that in a classroom, but we can certainly do it digitally. So,
and go online and look. There's all kinds of really interesting pieces out there.
Right.
So, but we can't cover it all, nor do you want us to cover it all in this manner. So we're going to let you go. You guys have a great day.
That concludes section 3 and chapter 20.
All right, we're just about done.
Ready for testing?
Woo-hoo! Have a great day.
bye-bye.